Hi, this is John Barton. I want to talk to you guys about OpenShot Video Editor. It's a free program that you can download from the internet, and I'm using this on a Windows 10 machine, but I believe you can also use it on a couple of different platforms as well. Now, OpenShot is great because it's free and it's really easy to use. It's very intuitive. There's some basic tools in here that you can use to really take your videos up to the next level, or also take videos that our students do and turn it into a better finished product. Now, I'm not going to go over everything. I'm just going to go over the basics, and believe me, I am no expert in this particular software, but I've been using software very similar to this for many years. Also, just to let you know, if you don't want to use OpenShot, let's say you want to use a different type of editing software, they all basically work the same kind of way. So I basically want to show you how to get started with it. Let's just take a look here at the program for a moment. In the upper right hand corner, you see there's an area here that says Project Files. You've got some tabs here that you can jump into various different ones. All you really need to look at is your project files. Now we can right click and hit import files. Notice that icon there also doubles up here. But the fastest and easiest way to do is a drag and drop. So I'm going to go over to my other monitor. I've got some files, and I'm just going to drag and drop them in real quick. Now, in this particular case, I've got a video, an MP4 file, and the rest are just JPEGs. So you can dress up your videos any way you want. You can chop up your MP4s and other file formats if you want to. I like using JPEGs both as a beginning and an ending, just to give it a cleaner look. And then I also use Subtitles, which I create in Paint, just making it super easy. On the right side over here, you'll see the video preview. And literally, when you click on this play, you will watch your video as it goes from wherever you started to where it stops. Down at the below, this is our tracks. And in this case, you can only see 2, but you can actually have several tracks on here. I've got 5 just to get started with, but you can add more if you need to. Now, on this particular case, all these things are parked on my screen in this configuration. That's the basic default when you get started. However, if you have multiple monitors or a bigger screen, you can actually undock these windows and move them around so you have more room to play with. All right, we're going to go ahead and start with this item here. This is just a still shot from my virtual classroom. That's what I start all of my videos with. I'm just going to drag and drop it right there onto the line. And notice when I drop it down here, it's going to show up over here in my video preview. That's because of the scrubber bar, which is right here. As I drag this over, that's going to simulate playing whatever's underneath it. Now, in this particular case, I believe it's about 10 seconds long is the default for any one of our JPEGs that we drop down. I don't want them to be staring at this image for 10 seconds before it changes. So I'm going to shrink that down. And that's going to be the first thing that you'll want to do. In this case, we want to look at our timeline over here. This tells us basically how fast or how much information we can see at one time. So if I click on this side, I can shrink that down. Notice it went from 15 to 10 seconds. Notice that this also got a lot larger over here. So that corresponds to our units here that you see. So I'm going to go ahead and shrink that all the way down to our 1 second timeline. And now if I want to change the size of this, or the length of how long they see this particular image, let's say I want to just go to 3 seconds. Well, the easy thing here is I'm going to double click here, and it's going to bring that scrubber bar right to where I want it to be. There's a couple of tools you can use, and like I said, there's more than one way to do anything, but I'm trying to show you the quickest and easiest way. If we have this particular item highlighted, and notice it's got a red highlight around it, I can right click and I've got another menu with some various different effects. In this case, I'm going to choose Slice. Now, if you didn't want to use Slice here, you can also use the scissors that you notice over here, but that is a little bit extra work. In my opinion, it's easier to use the Slice because the Slice is going to cut your image or your video exactly where your scrubber bar is. And you got choices. Keep both sides, keep left side, keep right side. In this case, we're going to keep the left side. And notice now, this image just got truncated to 3 seconds. So if I was to bring this all the way back and hit play, watch how it goes. It only lasts for 3 seconds. Also, you can click this button to jump to start as well. Let's go ahead and grab a video clip. I'm going to grab this, and this is literally something that I recorded using Zoom earlier. I'm going to take my scrubber bar, and there I am. Let's play it for a moment.
Hey there.
Okay, so all that time ahead of time we don't need. Okay, so I'm going to take my scrubber bar back a little bit so I can figure out where I want to start it from. Let's start about right there. Again, right click, slice, but this time we want to keep the right side. In other words, we want to get rid of all the stuff that happened before here. And now we've done that. Let's move our scrubber bar back this way a little bit, just so we can see this. We want to make sure it's exactly where we want it.
Hey there, that was pretty easy.
Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a simple transition. In other words, I want there to be some fading that goes on from the first section going into the second section. The easiest thing to do is to left click and hold this so you can move it and just force a little bit of an overlap. When you do that, it's automatically going to create a transition like this. So let's jump over to the very beginning and let's watch how that works.
Hey there, that was...
Notice when we did that, it started to fade at the beginning here. Now, if you don't like that, you can change the amount of fade on there as much as you want, or you can right click on it and remove it altogether. In this case, we're just going to go ahead and pop it back on there. Whoops. And we're going to start again just to see how that works.
Hey.
Perfect. Now, if I want to add in my subtitles, I can do that really easily by adding them onto the tracks that are above this line here. So let's go to this first one, first text. And I'm just going to pop it down on there for a second. I can drag it to the left, and notice here it will snap and snap right up to that line really easily. Okay? If I drag it to the right, you can watch it again snap. If you don't want it to snap, you can turn it off by clicking this snapping feature here. Again, at this point, we can go into the editing of your various clips, and that's a little bit more complex. So I'm not going to cover that. But notice how this image is over the video that's playing underneath. So if I was to go at the beginning again and click.
Hey there, that was pretty easy, wasn't it? Just to recap.
So the video keeps playing while this static image stays on top. Let's say we didn't like that. Let's say that we wanted the video to be on top. Well, all we'd have to do is take these two items and pull them up to track 2 and take this one to drag it down to track 1. Or all I'm doing right now is just moving some things around, just so that way you can see it a little bit better. And we'll get rid of this transition. All right. So now you should not even see this text JPEG at all.
Hey there, that was pretty easy, wasn't it?
And notice it doesn't show up. So depending on where it's located on your tracks will determine what's on top. The higher the number of the track, the higher on top it becomes. Once we get done with everything and we're ready to go, well, there's two things we really ought to do. The first thing we ought to do is we need to save the project as. There's a very good reason why you want to save the project, because that project file is your starting point where you can go back and change things if you figured out later, oh, I made a mistake, or, oh, I need to add something else in here. So in this case, I'll hit Save Project File. I'll go to my videos, and I'll put it in the appropriate folder. And we'll give it a name. Now, we can't put that project file online. We actually have to export a final product in order to do that. To do that, we can go to File and Export Project, Export Video. But notice right there, we got a keyboard shortcut as well as that red dot up there. So if we want to, we can click that, and now we can export this as, in this case, an MP4. Now there's lots of different settings here. Don't worry about that for the most part. Okay? And of course, the longer your video is, the longer it's going to take. Now on my computer, it's a little bit beefier. It's got a lot of RAM, so it goes by kind of quickly. But like I said, depending on how detailed your video is, how high the quality is, will determine how long it's going to take to export. And once it's finished exporting, that file you can now put onto YouTube or Schoology or any place else you want, because it is a standalone file at that point. And just as quick as that, we have ourselves a file. So if I hit done, and I'll just go into my other screen real quick. And we actually have the final file here, which I can't drag on. There we go. That's what the final file looks like there, based on what we worked here. So if I came in here and got rid of everything, and just drag this down, you would see what we exported.
Hey there, that was...
Notice there was a transition. Notice that we had the front card. This is the final product that I dragged on here just so that way you can see. Alright, if you have any questions about how to use things on here, I'll be more than happy to work with you on those. A lot of it's trial and error, and you just need to play around with it. But like I said, it's very intuitive. Again, if you have multiple monitors, you can actually undock these things and drag them over to another monitor, and now you got a lot more room. For example, I usually have my timeline, which is this one down over here. I usually have that docked over on a second screen. And I stretch it out so that way I can see all the different tracks that I need to. Alright, that's going to be the end of this particular video. If you have any questions, just let me know, and I will answer them as best as possible. Again, you don't have to use OpenShot, but it's free. It's relatively easy to use, and it's supported by a lot of open source software that's online. So there's a huge community of people that use this particular software.